Uh, Muy bien. Para que sepan. So that you guys all know, bienvenidos y bienvenidas, welcome. Um, uh, Gracias por venir. Thanks for coming. Um, I always record our lesson for people who are new. I always record every lesson of our session. I upload it to YouTube. If you miss class for whatever reason, because a ton of things can get in the way with life, and sometimes you have to miss class. If you miss class, you will always get a link for where the recording of class is, so you can go back and look at it. So I put that in a little insurance card for everybody. Also, the afternoon during the afternoon after class. By that time, I generally have it uploaded. I will send an email the day of class. Hola, Jean. Bien.
Hola.
Y Liza. Sí, bien. I always send out an email during the afternoon of the day of class. It will give you that link for the YouTube recording of class. It will list every single file, every single website, all the links that we used during class. So, I often recommend that you do not furiously take notes, although if you're a note writing person and that act of physically writing notes is actually good for you, fine, but don't feel you have to scribble copious notes during class because you'll always get a list of all the websites and any notes that I will use. Bien, y aquí viene Pam. Hola, Pam. Ah, bueno, ¿qué vamos a hacer? What are we going to do? This the golden question.
Yes. Sí.
Bien. La pregunta número uno. The number one question. We are going to start class since this is our summer session. We have some new folks, and you know what? Review is always a thing you have to do constantly with language. Things that we think we're perfectly great at, we find out, oh, there are little holes in some of our learning, or we forget stuff, or we just need to get better at stuff. And one of the basic things with Spanish is this is going to sound boring, but it's actually pretty key sentence structure. Gee, what is that? We're going to break it down. Today's class, I want to do real basic things with sentence structure, how it helps, how it throws a wrench in the works, how it doesn't help, so that you can sometimes help yourself get unconfused if the order of words you hear people saying, doesn't match what you think it should be. So we're going to work
Ma-
on real basics of sentence structure. See, Marcos.
Can I make just a quick
Claro,
so
sí.
I know most of you were in this class last fall, and I told everyone that my daughter was pregnant and we were having our first
Right.
grandchild. And so she in fact had the baby last Wednesday, or as our friends who speak Spanish might say, mi nieto nació el miércoles pasado.
Oh,
Ah,
very nice.
Sí, felicitaciones. Y es un nieto
oh,
precioso.
and there's a gato, and there's a gato.
Uno de los dos nuevos gatos, sí. Ah,
It's a new one.
this guy, este se llama Gandalf the Grey. Okay. Bien. A veces nos visita. Sometimes he visits us. Felicitaciones, Marcos. Sí. Um, Bien. Okay. And yes, please always feel free to interrupt me, by the way. That's okay to do
Mhm.
and not rude. Okay. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to review of how sentence structure can help us and sometimes how it hinders us. We're going to do a review quickly of how you will hear people using verbs, because that is a thing that really is challenging for English speakers. And then we're going to see how it pulls together a sentence, and then we're going to use some of that and plug it in and let you take a shot at some simple sentences. Okay. And by the way, if after class, during class, in the chat box, look, cuando sea, whenever it might be, any topics you specifically want us to work on and practice during the summer, things that personally for you want to work on or have clarified or get extra practice, whatever, have explained. Always feel free to write that in a chat box or write me an email on it, whatever you need to do, because the thought may come to you later on. Okay. Primero. First, we're going to take a look at about 5 minutes of a video. This is a much longer video. We're going to take a look at 5 minutes of a video of sentence structure and why it's important. And then do our verb review, and then do our story to, like, it's a plug and play, see how this actually works in a real conversation. So we're going to work on more understanding and listening comprehension first part of class. I'm going to put our video on, and once I share this, I will not likely see your faces, so if you nod, I won't hear you. Can you see the young lady, La Morena, the young brunette lady on the screen?
Yes.
Sí.
Yes. Sí, bien, magnífico. Ok. Ella va a explicar, she's going to explain. Ella va a explicar algunas cosas importantes, algunas cosas principales de la estructura de una frase básica. She's going to understand, explain our basics.
Video, we're going to break down Spanish sentence structure from the very basic one all the way to these little sneaky words like le, les, lo, los.
And the sneaky words she refers to are the things that will mess us up. Okay, but first we're going to look at what does make sense.
La, which is not as hard and complicated as it seems. This lesson comes with a PDF where it's full of examples and exercises so you can practice, and you have also all the explanation that I'm going to give you here. I'm going to split the sentence structure in Spanish in 3 levels.
You're
The
only going
first
to
level,
listen to like
it's the very, very basic. The
Part
second
2.
level adds a bit more of information, and the third level adds a bit more of information.
The third level you can watch on your own sometime during the week, later on if you want to. But we'll not look at the third part for sure today.
And at this third level is where I'm going to tell you where these le, los, come in. Okay? So if you're a beginner, this is going to be really useful for you to build up a foundation. But if you just want to polish your grammar, this can also be really useful for you. Let's start with the level 1. In a really basic sentence structure, we need at least 2 things. We need an object, someone or something who does an action, and an action or a thing that's happening to this subject.
Now, I'm going to stop it just for a quick second here. You need, for a sentence that makes sense, if you want to communicate a basic idea to somebody, you need the subject, somebody or something, and then what that person or thing is, state of being, or what that person or thing does, meaning the action of a verb of some kind. Okay, sometimes when we exchange ideas and have the back and forth of a conversation, sometimes we do speak in fragments. So you might respond only with somebody's name. ¿Quién está? Who's there? Lola. Yeah, the answer may only be the subject. or the answer may only be the action part. So sometimes we do speak in fragments because in communicating back and forth, a large part of that communication may be understood and doesn't have to be repeated. But this is for a basic sentence. You need a subject and an action.
Let's see. For example, if we see this, el gato,
El gato.
the cat. Is that a sentence? No, it's not a full sentence because it needs something else. This is just a subject. This is just who we're going to talk about. If we have this word, ronronea, which you might not know what it means, which means to purr. If we say it like this, if we say ronronea, then it's not a full sentence.
Although actually that kind of isn't true. If you already knew you were talking about a cat ahead of time, you could use just the verb by itself, ronronea, as a response. So think about that. We're going to come back to that later. It isn't technically a sentence by itself, but it can be if the subject is understood, if you have that context ahead of time. But normally you also need, you need a thing or a person connected to that verb,
By
ronronea.
out of nowhere come and say ronronea. That doesn't mean anything, okay? By the way, this is a really good word to practice your R's. Ronronea, ronronea. Now, if we put them both together, el gato ronronea, then we have a sentence. This is our very basic sentence structure. Now, what if we want to say something else? Because this is really simple, and sometimes it's enough, but sometimes we need to say more things. We need to give more details. So we have this sentence. El gato come atún.
So now the verb is not ronronea, it's a different action. It's come. Okay, come.
The cat eats tuna. Atún. This is called complemento directo. In English, direct object. This is directly affected by the action of the subject. So atún, tuna, is when it's directly affected by the eating. Eats tuna. It also answers to the question what.
Yeah, like the verb eats or is eating. What are they eating? There's the thing that is being eaten is what they call complemento directo. Okay.
So what does he eat? Tuna. ¿Qué come? Atún. Come atún. There are some verbs like el gato come that you can either say el gato come and that's a full sentence, or you can say el gato come atún and that's giving more information. But then we have other verbs that always need a complemento directo. For example, perseguir. Perseguir is to chase, and if
And actually, perseguir, pursue. But if you're chit-chatting, you're never going to say pursue. You're going to say chase, yeah? Persigue.
we say el gato persigue, we're like, what? ¿Qué? ¿Qué persigue? We need un complemento directo. ¿Qué
So, chases what? It's not mentioned with just the information of the el gato persigue. All right. So often we tag on more information after that subject verb. Now, the nice thing about this is that this word order, this sentence structure follows what we do in English. We also do a subject and a verb. So the way or the order in which you think coincides, matches up with, dovetails very beautifully with what Spanish does. That will not always be the case, but in this case it is.
Sigue al ratón. Al
Persigue
ratón
al
is the complemento directo. There are really common verbs that need this complemento directo. For example, yo digo muchas cosas. The verb decir, to say. You have to say something. You cannot just say.
Yeah. I say many things, right?
I say, yo digo. That doesn't work. You need un complemento directo. ¿Qué dices? Muchas cosas. Yo digo muchas cosas. Explicar, for example. You need to explain something. You cannot just explain. I explain. Yo explico. No, we need something else. Yo explico la estructura de las frases. The structure of the sentences. La estructura de las frases is what I explain. That's the
Okay, now let me stop here because I'm going to add something in to what she's telling us here. Yo digo muchas cosas, yo explico la estructura de las frases. Keep something in mind. Subject, verb, that's how we think in English. Somebody does something, something does something. Okay, vale, bien, perfecto. But many times in Spanish, that subject, in this case, what you see on the screen, the word yo, it may not be said. And this is where we start to have problems. As an English speaker, listening to other people speaking Spanish, sometimes that subject, especially if it is only a pronoun like I, you, we, he, she, they, it might be completely left out. And why does that happen? You know, you can't do that in English. Well, you can, but it sounds weird in English. You know, nobody says, am going to store. I mean, you'd understand them, but it sounds goofy, right? Or, yeah, complain all the time. Well, in English, complain all the time. Who's doing it? You don't know that without the subject. But in Spanish, often you know who is doing something automatically because of that verb form. And that is both the beauty and the curse of interpreting people speaking Spanish and understanding the ideas they're getting across. The verb conjugations, which English speakers typically dislike intensely, verb conjugations roll everything into one ball of wax. So quite often, just the verb will stand there. So you often will not hear yo digo muchas cosas. You'll hear digo. And digo by itself can only be the conjugation for yo. Therefore, we already know it's yo. And people will omit the word yo. If that conjugation, digo, were instead dices, which is a tu conjugation, it automatically means you are speaking and it can't be anybody else in the whole world. So people will omit the word tu. They'll just say dices, just the verb. So in that way, in that sense, sometimes subjects will be omitted, okay? Because the verb tells the whole story of who is doing something. So when we're listening to people talk or listening to a story being told, you will sometimes, there'll be this blank because the verb tells it all. So in that way, it kind of violates, goes against what your ear expects to hear, the word order you're thinking of in English. Okay, I'm going to let her go on a little bit more.
Directo. Okay, let's see another example. El gato trajo un ratón.
And here she uses a past tense verb. Don't worry about that yet. Trajo means brought. Okay, instead of is bringing, brought. And you won't see a lot of past tense being used during this class because at this level we don't focus on past tense, just present.
The cat brought a mouse.
A mouse,
El
un
gato
ratón.
trajo un ratón. ¿Qué trajo? Un ratón. Un ratón es el complemento directo. Trae.
Now, if we had already been talking about el gato, you know, if you were in a conversation with somebody about el gato, a cat, yeah, un gato, and we have been talking about that, once we state that we're talking about un gato or el gato, later on in the conversation, they'll drop that word gato generally because just the verb by itself will tell the story of what el gato is doing. If it's already understood because it's been mentioned right at the front end of the conversation. It's el gato that we're talking about. People will often drop that word el gato, right? They'll use a verb conjugated for only one person or thing, which we call third person singular. And you might hear that sentence you see on the screen, el gato trajo un ratón. If we already knew we were talking about el gato, you may hear it only as trajo un ratón. He brought a mouse because it was already understood. Here's how the sentence would typically start if that were to happen. Tengo un gato nuevo. I've got a new cat. Tengo, I have, and notice I didn't say yo. Tengo automatically means I can be the only person who has something. Tengo un gato nuevo. I've got a new cat. Tengo un gato nuevo. El gato es de color gris. He's gray. Trajo un ratón. He brought a mouse. We already know you're talking about the cat, so we don't repeat him when we say trajo un ratón. So this habit that Spanish-speaking people have of using conjugated verbs will often violate that word order. They will sometimes not use the subject if it's already understood. So you have to listen to all parts of the conversation. The context is king. Un poquito más. We're going to listen just a bit more.
To bring, it's one of the other verbs that need this complemento directo, because you cannot just traer. You need to traer something. You need to bring something. El gato trajo un ratón. ¿Qué trajo? Un ratón. Okay? This is the level 2. Now we're going to go to the level 3. But before going to...
Actually, she has a promotion for a product. We're going to skip through that. We're going to show you one extra level. This is kind of level 3, but not far into it. We're going to add something onto this idea and show how sentence structure, again, may sometimes still come into play. Anything we add on to the subject and the verb is giving just extra information. Some verbs need an object, complemento directo. Some don't, okay? Sometimes we talk about where something happens. Sometimes we talk about how something happens. Sometimes we talk about when something happens. Those will all be the add-ons in sentence structure to give more information about an activity.
Interesting, and add something else. El gato trajo un ratón a mi hija o a su dueña. The cat brought a mouse to my daughter. My daughter being the owner, so that's why. El gato trajo un ratón. ¿Qué trajo el gato? Un ratón. What did the cat bring? Un ratón. To whom? Who received this mouse? Me? No, in this case, mi hija, my daughter. Okay? So this is the complemento indirecto. And the complemento indirecto is the receiver of the action of the complemento directo. Let's see more examples. Yo explico la estructura de las frases a mis alumnos.
That tells who is receiving that explico, I'm explaining. Who receives that estructura? Who gets the estructura? That's that complemento indirecto, a mis alumnos. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit and show you something new about this. You can watch the whole thing later at your leisure. Look at that little word le. Here is something about sentence structure that messes up our English brain, because now we are starting to really big time violate English word order. And your brain, no matter how hard you try, if you learned English as a first language, as a baby growing up, that word order in English is the way, the order your brain puts ideas in. Not all languages put words in the same order. So this little word you see in yellow, le, is going to start to big time throw a wrench in the works. Okay. El gato le trajo un ratón a mi hija. That le word, even though she's got it in parentheses, like it's optional, generally you're going to hear that word le. You're going to hear it. And the le is talking about the whole phrase at the very end. A mi hija, a mi hija. The le is like a little flag in there saying, okay, what does it mean? Let's look at that first. El gato le trajo un ratón. The cat brought her a mouse. The word le can mean him, can mean her, can even sometimes mean you. Okay, le means her, but we're going to be specific who the her is. Le means one person, just one person, not a group of people. And to define exactly who we mean by le, is it him, a guy? Is it her, a gal? Is it you, usted? No, it's amiga. Le, in this case, is not going to mean him or you. It's going to mean her. And we define who the le is with the little tag, the little phrase. It's tagged at the very end. Amiga. Amiga. Okay. You will hear that word le in there. Le trajo un ratón a mi hija. The cat brought her a mouse to my daughter. Isn't that redundant? Yes, it is, but that's what they do. So what I want to show you is word structure. Here is where it starts to really violate. That le, the cat to her brought a mouse to my daughter. In English, you don't think in that word order. Of course you don't. But I guarantee you that's the word order they're thinking in. And that le in yellow, when you hear somebody say the le, it's a little flag in a conversation to say, I'm going to be telling you that one person is getting this thing. And then I'm probably going to name who they are a little more specifically at the end of my communication. So the le is like a little flag at the beginning saying somebody's going to receive this action. Okay, bien. So these little words in yellow, or the les, which is the plural of le, yo les explico la estructura de las frases a mis alumnos. I explain to them, sentence structure to my students. But look at the order. I to them explain the structure of sentences to my students. We don't think in that order. So this is where there's often a wrench in the works and our brains start to break because that's not the word order we are expecting. Okay, no matter how hard you try, that is not the word order you are expecting to hear. So sometimes word order helps us because it's the same order as what we're used to in English. And sometimes it winds up being something very different. And then we have to kind of fight through that. But do keep in mind quite often what people's natural reaction, which is really a normal thing, is, well, why did they do it that way? Why do we do it our way? Yeah, language evolves. Let's take a look at our little verb segment here. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Any question before I show you our little verb review? Sí? No? No? Nada? Okay, vale, bien. I'm going to show you this little thing. I will send you this whole chart structure thing. This is my verb cheat sheet phrase. Some of you already have this. You may not need it again. Some of you have never seen it. So what we want to show you here is the first little, it's only a minor wrench thrown in the works, and that is that sometimes in Spanish they will not tell you who is doing an action because the verb is going to tell the whole story. But how do you know what those verbs are? Here are regular, and I should put this in that these are regular. Oops, a ver. Aha, ha, 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 ha. Got to put it in Spanish mode. I've got two keywords. For regular verbs, that means regular verbs are just verbs that follow a pattern that can be expected, predicted, and therefore, if you know the pattern, you can plug it in and use the words. Okay. 3 kinds of verbs in Spanish. Okay. Our verbs are all, if they are infinitives, I should be more specific, the infinitive, which is the base form of any verb you use. Yeah. In English, and all infinitives start with the word to, and then we tag on the action. Yeah. To walk, to talk, to spit, to cry, to scream, to watch. All right. Everything is to. But in Spanish, there are 3 kinds of verbs. And if they are infinitives, and the infinitive, the base verb, is either an ending in AR or an ending in ER or an ending in IR. ER and IR nicely are going to share mostly the same forms. Mostly, okay? AR is the biggest category by far. So that's the kind of verb you'll hear the most of, right? And these are the endings. You take off the AR and it's got an O ending. So hablo, hablar, to speak, will be used as hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos. In Spain only, habláis. Latin America will not use that, so we're not going to focus on that at all, but you may hear it occasionally in a video I give you. And hablan, all right? And the verb by itself is often used, okay? You may use the subject with it, but typically you won't hear people say yo hablo, just hablo by itself, hablo, without the word yo. Just hablas, without the word tú, all right? You can use a subject with the verb, but most people will skip it, right? Hablamos, we speak. It's going to be obvious, so people will not say the nosotros part of that sentence, okay? ER and I verbs share the same kind of endings, and you'll notice as the AR verbs have lots of ah sounds in many of the forms, right? Lots of ah sounds from that AR. ER and IR verbs are going to share most of the same forms, and they have lots of A sounds in their verb endings, conjugations, lots of A's. Where the ER and IR verbs diverge and do not share the forms are in this nosotros form, okay? So comer, an ER verb will be como, I'm eating, comes, you eat, come, he or she eats, or maybe even the formal you, usted, eat. And come only talks about one person, right? Come, third person singular always means it's one person doing that or one thing doing that action, and that person is by themselves, okay? It's not plural, it's just a onesie, right? Como comes, come, comemos, we're eating or we eat, and comen, right? Comes if you're in Spain, but otherwise we skip the comes most of the time. Comen, they eat, yeah? It could be a group of guys, group of gals, a mixed group. Could be ustedes, you guys, plural, but comen. And the only place where meaningful for us is going to be, IR verbs will sound just like comer. So vivir, an IR verb will be vivo, vives, vive, viven, they live, viven, sí. But we live will not be vivemos. We live will be vivimos. So nosotros is where ER and IR verbs go their different ways, and IR verbs take that E sound from the I back into the nosotros form, vivimos, right? But comer stays with the E sound, comemos. So this is your little cheat sheet. I'll send this out. If you already got it in a previous session, you can skip it. There are irregular things with verbs, sadly, and there are gobs and gobs of things with this, so we're not going to go into all the irregulars, but these yellow starred things are verbs that you will hear a lot that have odd little irregular things about them, right? Like ser, to be, estar, also to be, dar, to give, ir, to go, tener, to have, hacer, to make or to do, poner, seguir, salir, decir. You've already seen it, that odd part of digo for yo. There's no G in decir, but the yo form gets a G. Nothing else gets a G, just the yo form. Vengo, veo, saber, say, I know. So this just is a little primer as a reminder. There are lots of irregular verbs, but this top segment is what we're going to focus on today. See? Bien? Okay. Vale. Let's take a listen to a little short story. And we're going to plug in the this idea of word structure. And you'll probably be able to follow it because it is pretty short. We will only play a part of this. Again, you can listen to the whole thing later on. In a lot of cases, you're going to see how this structure is actually used in a little simple story. So it's going to be subject, verb, and maybe more information. Okay? Extra information tagged on. But we'll see how this works. We'll see how sometimes it can be shortened. And you may only hear the verb without the subject of that word order, just the verb, maybe. Okay. We'll
Marilyn, before
see.
we start
Sí,
on that,
Andrés, sí.
yeah, sometimes in sentences I've noticed that the first word is nosotros, and then immediately followed by nos. And
Nosotros en a me.
Well, no, nos, nosotros nos, and
Okay.
then
Sí.
to me that's like saying we.
Oui, yes. And
And
not
I
the
don't
French oui.
and and then in some cases on Duolingo they just use nos and they don't use the nosotros for the we, and I don't understand.
Let's
I don't
take an
understand.
example of that, Andrés. Qué buena pregunta. That's good. Are they just like repeating stuff back? That's like, dumb, redundant stuff? Are they doing that? What are they doing?
Well,
What
yeah, it confuses me.
I'll give you an example of that. Un ejemplo. Vale. Voy a inventar un ejemplo. I'm gonna invent an example. And Andrés, this is a very good question. Sometimes, por ejemplo, nosotros nos sentamos aquí. This is a perfectly good, simple sentence. We're sitting down here. That's what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Nosotros nos sentamos aquí. Nosotros nos. Wait a minute. Isn't nos kind of talking about the same person as nosotros?
Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
That's the way you look at it. You're a
Yeah.
logical thinker, Andres. Okay. This is following sentence pattern. Is perfectly okay to say this. But why do we have this extra nos if you've already got a nosotros telling everybody that we're doing this action? Well, this particular verb comes from a verb that is sentarse, not just sentar, to seat. An usher does the action of sentar, an usher or a maitre d'. The maitre d' shows you to your seat. They seat you. An usher looks at your ticket number and figures out where your seat is in the auditorium, and they show you to your seat. Yeah, that's sentar. But when you take your tushy and you set it down yourself, this is what is sentarse. That is to seat oneself down. It is to settle your bottom down, right? And that is the way they express the idea of to sit down, meaning you're doing it on your own. It's not an usher showing you to the number of the seat that you have. Okay, those little sentarse, this is another word order thing. Verbs like sentarse, that's got an extra se at the end. That means that we have to have an extra little pronoun. It is reflexive. So I'm going to show you. Nosotros nos sentamos aquí is a perfectly great sentence, but you are likely to hear it only this way. Nos sentamos aquí. That means the exact same thing as nosotros nos sentamos aquí. Nosotros nos sentamos aquí. Someone may say if they want to be super emphatic. Why? Why would they do that? Un ejemplo, an example. I say to somebody in English, and listen to what I do with the pitch of my voice. Oh, you're sitting up front, but we're sitting back there. You're sitting up front. We're sitting back there. I'm just being emphatic about the we. And I do something with my voice in English to do that. Okay? In Spanish, someone may express that we're sitting back there as adding in that word nosotros to make it emphatic. Nosotros nos sentamos aquí. But in most cases, they'll drop that word nosotros entirely, and they'll just say it as that reflexive pronoun. We're sitting ourselves down. Nos sentamos aquí. Generally, it will more commonly drop the word nosotros. Bien? Okay?
Okay.
Sometimes those get, okay, another example that's not on nos, but again is like a double paired up set of pronouns, okay, would be something like this. Oh, and I forget. Yo me lavo las manos. I'm washing my hands. And lavarse, again, means to wash part of your own body. Yeah, okay? And that's just a reflexive. That means it's going to need that little odd pronoun. You can say, yo me lavo las manos, but most people will drop that word yo. It'll just be, me lavo las manos. Me lavo las manos, and it'll just be that, okay? That is there because lavarse is a special kind of verb, you know, unlike, perdón. Unlike any of these verbs here, me lavo needs that little extra me. It's what they call a reflexive pronoun. It just needs that. And you just need to kind of get used to that. Okay? Bien? Did that answer your question? It does seem redundant, but remember, most people will drop that nosotros. They'll drop the yo. They'll drop it. But that little me is not the same as yo, right? Yo me lavo las manos. Me lavo las manos. Me is pairing up with that word lavo. It's pairing up, actually, with that verb. So instead of me washing the dog, washing the cat means I'm some part of my body. Is what it's happening to. Okay? Bien?
Thank you.
Okay. Let's listen to a little story. We're going to listen for word order here. And point out if it kind of violates what you expect with your word order or if it follows what you think. A ver, okay.
We will translate it into English little by little. After that, you will hear it again in Spanish without subtitles and faster.
We won't
to see
play the
everything
whole
you
thing
have
through.
learned.
We'll just play the
Then
core
we will answer
parts of the
3
story.
comprehension questions. And finally, we will learn 10
So
new
you
words.
can listen for all the other stuff later on.
Ana vive en una ciudad pequeña.
Ana vive en una ciudad pequeña. Let's see word order. Who are we talking about?
Anna
Ana. Yeah. What is she doing?
lives.
Lives, vive, right? Here, because this is the very first sentence, I'm going to name Ana. Yeah. If I just said, vive en una ciudad pequeña, vive without the word Ana to start off the whole thing wouldn't tell me who lives. I would know it was one person, right? If it were vivo, I live, I could drop the subject. If it was vives, you live, you could drop the subject because the verb itself would be really specific. Vives, you live. Vivo, I live. Vivimos, we live. Yeah. In this case, vive could be like any one person, any Joe Schmo, Tom, Dick, or Harry. Okay, so we name her to start off so we know who we're talking about. Ana vive. And the rest of the sentence just tells us more information about the where. Yeah. En una ciudad pequeña, in our case, en is a nice preposition because it looks a lot like our word in. Yeah, it sounds a lot like our word in, but it's en instead of in. En una ciudad pequeña. Ana lives in a where?
Small town.
Small city.
Small city. Ciudad pequeña. Look at word order. Ana lives in a city small. Oh, of course, we don't say a city small, do we? Huh? But they often do. Okay.
Ella trabaja en una tienda de ropa.
They included an ella. They could have dropped that word ella. He chose not to. Ella means she. We could have just said that as trabaja en una tienda de ropa. She does what?
Works.
Works.
Clothing store.
She works in a clothing store. She works in a store of clothing. Okay, that's the way they say it. Yeah. Clothing store is tienda de ropa. Tienda de, right? A store of. Yeah. Trabaja tells you only one person does this action of working. And here, because we already talked about Ana, you could have dropped the word ella, but okay. Here they added it in.
Luis es profesor y vive cerca de la tienda.
Bien. Okay. We got a different person, still a onesie person. So it'll use the same kind of verb. Okay. Now we're talking about a guy, but it's only one person that'll use the same kind of verb. Luis, now I tell who he is. Luis es profesor. He.
Vive.
Not what he's doing yet. What he is, yeah. Ser is a verb of being. Es profesor, he's a teacher. Y vive cerca de la tienda. Vive, he also lives. And we're tack on to the end of the subject verb. Luis vive, right? Luis vive. The where part is cerca de la tienda, near the store.
Un día, Ana entra en una cafetería para tomar un café.
Un día, and we're framing a time frame here. One day, Ana does something.
She enters the cafeteria.
Enters. She goes in. Yeah, she goes into cafeteria. To do something. Para tomar un café.
She has a coffee.
In order to have a coffee, drink a coffee. Tomar means take literally, but it's often used for eat and drink. So have a coffee, yeah.
Luis también está allí.
Luis también está allí. Okay. Luis also
Is there.
is there. Okay. Nice word order. Subject. Also is just extra information about the verb is. Also is there.
Él lee un libro.
Now we've got a subject, an action, and something that receives the action. Él lee un libro. And here, if I omitted the él, we wouldn't know which one of the two we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, because le could be talking about Ana. Le can also be used to talk about Luis. So here we have to be specific and say we're talking about the guy. And we stick in as the subject that little pronoun, él, he. Okay? Él lee un libro. And complemento directo, direct object. What is he reading?
Book.
A book. Okay.
Ana y Luis se saludan y empiezan a hablar.
What is this thing? Here is a wrench in the monkey works, that word se. Ana y Luis, we know they're going to do something.
Ana and Luis.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Saludar sounds like this, and it kind of comes from that. this action of saluting somebody. Yeah.
So does that mean
Saluting.
greet? I think it means greet.
Yeah, it means
Yeah.
greet. And that little word se means each other. Each other. Yeah. It is an each other signal word, that word se. All right. So Ana y Luis se saludan. They greet each
Greet
other.
one another. Yeah.
They greet one another.
Another.
Yeah. Y empiezan a hablar. Empezar means to begin. So empiezan. They're both doing this. They're starting to
Speak.
talk. Okay.
Yeah.
But the word order here, except for that se, is pretty good. Ana y Luis, subject. The se saludan has to hang together. They do this to each other. They say hi to each other. Empiezan a hablar. They start, they begin
The
to
converse.
talk. Okay. Converse, yeah.
Hablan de su trabajo y de sus gustos.
Hablan. Now, it's the two of them together. Hablan. And notice, no subject, because we don't need it. Hablan de, but we tell what they talk about. De is of, yeah. They talk of, meaning they're talking about. They talk about su trabajo, their
Work.
right? Their
Work.
jobs, y sus gustos, and their
The things they like.
the things they like. Yeah, we would add things they like. Yeah, gustos is pleasures. That would sound weird if you translated it literally, but the things that they like.
Beben café y ríen.
No subject, just the verb. We already know we're talking about Ana y Luis. Ana y Luis. Beben. They do what?
Drink
Drink
coffee and
coffee.
laugh.
Drink coffee.
And
Y
laugh.
ríen. Ha 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 ha.
Laugh. Yeah.
Laugh. And we don't need a subject. It's implied. We're still talking about these two. We haven't changed the subject yet.
Después caminan por el parque.
No subject, because we don't need it. Después, later on, I did tag on some time. Yeah.
Okay.
Later on, caminan.
They walk
They walk.
to the park.
Or
Or at the
actually, not
park?
to the park. Por means through.
Through. Oh.
Yeah,
Through.
all around. Through. Por is through, right?
Okay.
If somebody phrases as caminan para el parque, it would mean they're going to the park. But por means all over. Yeah, a winding path is por.
Okay.
Hace sol y hay muchas flores.
You're talking about the weather and the environment
Flowers,
here.
yeah.
Hace sol, it makes sun. That's the way we say it's sunny, yeah? Many, many weather expressions in Spanish use hace, it makes. English doesn't say it makes sun, but Spanish does. Hace sol. They're talking about the weather there. Hay muchas flores. We're just saying that thing of flores, they exist. There are. Yeah. Hay is there are.
Es un buen día.
It's a good day.
Luis dice.
Luis dice. Luis says. And that little dash is like the equivalent of our quotation marks here to say somebody, this is a direct quote.
¿Quieres ir al cine mañana?
¿Quieres? He's talking to her with tú. He's addressing her.
Right.
Yeah. We don't even say the word tú, you, because it's all built into that one verb conjugation of quieres. Do you want? Quieres ir? Do you want to
Go
go?
to the movies.
And
The movies
to the
tomorrow.
movies. Al cine, el cine, that's the
Mañana.
actual literal building where you show a film. And then we tell when, mañana,
Mañana.
tomorrow.
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 Ana responde.
Ana responde. She responds.
Sí,
Sí.
me encanta el cine.
Here's something that throws a little wrench in our in the works. A little wrench. Me. There's no yo here. Me encanta. This is like saying me gusta, but it is magnified. It's bigger and better than me gusta. Me gusta is I like. Me encanta is also I like, but it's I really like. It's I love. I love
Ooh.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
Me encanta el cine. Literally, to me, it's enchanting the movies. We don't think in that word order. So this is
No.
a wrench in the in the works. Yeah. We don't even have an I in this sentence structure. Me encanta is a special kind of structure. It's enchanting to me. We never say it that way. We say I love or I really like. Yeah, either way. Yeah. And the thing that you like is way at the end of the sentence. That is a totally different word order than what English uses. Me encanta, a good way to think of this is that not to think in word order with this structure, me encanta. Me encanta automatically, those two words hang together mean I love something. I love it. And we have to listen for what we love at the end of the sentence. All right. So, me encanta el cine. I love the movies. Me encanta el gato. I love the cat. Me encanta el golf. I love golf. Me encanta la música. I love music. Me encanta. Me encanta. I love, and you listen for the thing that you love later, right? That is a structure we would use in English.
El día siguiente van al cine.
We give a time structure, a time indicator, el día siguiente, the following day, or you might say in English, the next day. And now we don't use an ellos, a they, we just use the verb. There's no subject, just the verb. Van al cine. We're telling what they do. They are
Going to the movie.
going to the movies. Yeah, el cine is the movies, the movie house.
Compran palomitas y ven una película romántica.
And notice we already know we're talking about Ana y Luis. We drop the subject entirely from this sentence. We have only the verbs because we know we're talking about what they're doing. Compran, they are,
Buying popcorn?
they buy
I see.
popcorn. Palomitas
Yeah.
are popcorn. Y ven, they
See a romantic movie.
Yeah, see a romance movie?
Yeah, see a romantic movie. We might in English say watch, even though you don't think of ver, to see, as a watch verb. For watching a show, ver is often used to see. Okay. And they see a romantic film. They watch a romantic film.
Después de la película,
And now we tell that tells when. Después de la película, after the film.
Luis toma la mano de Ana.
I need to tell because I got two people here who is actually, I need to tell. I need to have a subject. Who's taking whose hand? Who's making the first move? I have to name them here. Luis. And now the
Luis.
verb is a onesie verb. Luis toma
Ana.
la mano de Ana. He takes her hand. Isn't he cute?
Ella sonríe.
She smiles.
Desde ese día, Ana y Luis salen juntos.
Ever since that day, desde ese día, after that day, Ana y Luis salen juntos. Salir means to go out. So salen means they both do this. They
Go out together?
go out together. And I do name them both, okay?
Son novios y están muy felices.
I don't need to name them. I just have the verb by itself. Son novios. They're an item. Yeah, they're an item. They're a couple. Yeah. And I don't need to name Ana y Luis. We already know from that verb being about the two of them, more than one. Están muy felices. They're very happy.
Now we will translate the story.
Okay, we're not going to translate it because we did. Let's, so you see how sometimes we flip where we needed to name them, we have that structure of subject, verb, and sometimes an object, okay? Or sometimes when something was happening, or sometimes where something was happening. Okay, Sometimes we didn't use a subject because we had already named who we were talking about. And the verb then told the whole story, and we didn't even use the subject. Okay? Bien. All right. Let's see if we can form some simple sentences. Ha 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 ha. Form some simple sentences. Tengo que ajustar el tamaño aquí. I need to adjust my size so this isn't like teeny tiny. You can't read it. ¿Pueden ver todo? Can you see all of it? ¿Sí?
Sí.
Bien? Okay, vale. Let's build some simple idea sentences. ¿Quién es? Let's talk about who you see. ¿Quién es? Who is it? We're going to have to use a subject here. We have to name the
Chica.
person.
Right.
La
Es una
chica.
chica.
Ah, sí. Sí. Es, or maybe we can, ella. Es una chica. We could have said es una mujer. She's a woman. Bien, right? Bien. ¿Dónde está? Where is she?
Supermercado.
Ella
Okay.
es
And now you could respond with a fragment, supermercado, but let's build a whole sentence.
Ella está en un supermercado.
Sí, bien. Ella está en un supermercado. Bien, okay. Ella está en un supermercado. Could I get rid of this word ella if I wanted to? And just say está
Sí.
en un supermercado. Sí, es
Sí.
posible, it's possible. ¿Sí? Ella está en un supermercado. Okay. ¿Qué hace? What is she doing?
Shopping. She's shopping.
She's shopping. Oh, she's looking for stuff. She's buying stuff. Shopping is, there's a specific phrase. I'll give you the core, but you're going to change it. Ir de compras. You're just going to use that de compras at the end. That just tags onto the end and that doesn't change. That just tells what you're going to do. Okay, so let's change this so that we know it's her that's doing this buying business,
Right.
shopping. What do I do with that ir? I need to have it.
Conjugate it so it matches with ella.
It matches with ella. It's talking about only one person doing that. Okay, so let's take a look. Ir is sadly one of our oddball, very common verbs. Oh, I'm only talking about one person, so I need one of these.
Ella va.
Ella va or just va, right? Just va will also work. So since we already know we're talking about ella, la mujer, la chica, we can just say va
De compras.
de compras. And the de compras part stays de compras, right? It's just a tag on to tell what she's going to do, right? But the ba, that has to get the conjugation ba. Okay.
Could you also add para comida or for food?
See, yes, you can. Can you add on
Yeah.
other stuff? Of course you can. I can add complemento, a compliment. Más de compras para comida. She's shopping for food. See? Okay. Let's change this up a little bit. When we ask que hace, notice hace, this verb for the question, que hace, what is she doing? Notice that that doesn't appear in the answer. Just like in English, if I said, what is she doing? You wouldn't say she's doing walking down the aisle. She's doing shopping. You would just say she's shopping or she's buying stuff, right? So the hace in the question, we have to take hace out and use a different kind of verb, just like we do in English. What is she doing? She's browsing, she's shopping, she's buying stuff, right? We put a different verb in. Instead of ir de compras, let's use buscar. Let's use buscar. Let's build a sentence with buscar. I've got to change something with buscar. If I just said, would somebody understand you? Oh, to look for, yes, but, we're going to tell who's doing the looking for. ¿Cómo se dice she's looking for?
Ella busca.
Ella busca. Bien. Ella busca, and now we're going to have to name something, right? Ella busca comida. She's looking for food. Ella busca su marca favorita. She's looking for her favorite brand. Okay, something there. But the busca is what's going to tell that activity. Maybe instead of buscar, the question hace, maybe you want to plug in the answer comprar. She's buying something. ¿Cómo se dice she's buying something?
Ella
Ella es comprar.
compra.
Not the es, but just
Ella compra.
compra. So let me show you what compra can, how would we express that idea of compra in English? In English, we might say that as she buys because she always buys food. We might say she is buying food, but notice the word is doesn't come into play with the Spanish idea there. Compra can mean she buys food, like as a general rule, that's what she does. It can mean she is buying, but we don't express the idea of is. It's just all wrapped up in that one verb, compra. She's buying food. Yeah. She does buy food every single Monday. Yeah. So it can mean all those things, compra. She buys, she is buying, she does buy, but does buy doesn't really happen that much in English, but it can, all right? So these are all words that might be used to answer that question. ¿Qué hace? What is she doing? Compra, busca, va de compras. All right, so different verbs might be used to talk about what she's doing. Let's take one more. Un ejemplo más. Caminar. Because what she's doing is walking
Down
down the aisle. Por el pasillo. Por el pasillo means through the aisle. Okay? ¿Cómo se dice
Okay.
she's walking through the aisle? We're going to take that caminar and make it just one person is doing that.
Camina.
Camina. Camina. Camina por el pasillo. And the por el pasillo just tells where she's strolling around. Yeah? Right? Bien. Okay. ¿Qué tiene en las manos? ¿Qué tiene? What is she
Having her hands.
having her hands? And you could answer with a fragment, meaning not a whole sentence. Right? But let's make it a whole. So you could just say, a sack of something, a bag of something, a box of something. You could. A box, a bag. You could answer with a fragment, but let's make it a whole sentence. Let's say she has.
She has, yeah.
And luckily, in this case, it looks the same as the verb in the question.
Ella tiene um,
Tiene.
bolsa,
Una bolsa de comida. She's got a bag of food, some kind of bag, yeah. Something in a bag.
Mhm.
See?
Why do you not include the ella?
Why do I not include the ella? Because I don't have to, because the verb tiene, because we've already established we're talking about una chica, una mujer, somebody you would identify as ella. That's a good question. Why do I not include the ella? I could, but I don't have to in Spanish. And quite often, once we've established we're talking about this lady in the yellow shirt, la mujer o la chica en la camisa amarilla, we already know we're talking about her. So instead of repeating even the word her or la mujer or la chica, very typically people will omit that entirely. In the word order of sentence, in English, you've got to say she has a bag. We have to say the she in English. You don't have to say the she in Spanish, especially since from the context we already know you're talking about a female person and it's just one of her. The verb alone is usually what you're going to hear all by its lonesome self. Tiene una bolsa de comida. But it would sound off and wrong if I showed that picture and I expressed this as tienes with an S at the end. Tienes una bolsa de comida. Because tienes would mean I'm talking to you person. I'm talking directly to you. And tienes wouldn't match up with what you see in that picture. Hey, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about that lady in the yellow shirt. La mujer en la camisa amarilla. Okay, so it can't be tienes, that form, it can only be tiene, she has. I can use tiene by itself because it means I'm talking about only that one person. So
Tiene.
in sequence, instead of having questions, you could hear this whole description of the picture like this. Ella es una mujer. Let's change this up. Ella es una mujer en una camisa amarilla. I'm going to describe, she's got a yellow shirt on. See? And I already know I'm talking about her, and I can drop the she. Está en un supermercado, va de compras para comida, busca productos como arroz. She's looking for products like rice. Busca sus productos favoritos. She's looking for her favorite products. Compra mucha comida. Camino por el pasillo. ¿Sí? Y tiene una bolsa de comida. I might say where she's got that bag. En la mano, in her hand. She's only got one hand on it. Yeah. En la mano. Yeah. See? Bien. Okay. Bueno. So you can see how once I establish who I'm talking about at the beginning, the rest of the conversation, they'll drop that subject part of the word order because the verb now does the whole job. ¿Entiendes? Understand? See? See? This does the whole job. See? Bien. Okay. A
Just
ver.
another question.
Sí.
You know, in English, when we use pronouns and we get too far away from the proper noun, we're not sure who you're referring to.
Uh-huh.
Is that true in Spanish also?
That is, and then that's the job of the pronoun to step in and make it clear for somebody to plug that in. Yeah. Kind of
Okay.
like in the story when they talked about Ana y Luis se saludan y hablan. See, they greet each other and they empiezan a hablar and they start to talk. But then if they switch back to one person takes somebody else's hand, I have to go back and define who that is.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes from context, if they keep it in plural, you know you're talking about that same group, or they keep it in singular, you know they're talking about that same group. But
Okay.
then if they kind of switch subjects, you're right, Andres, in English, that is the job of the pronoun. And then we have to start plugging that in so that we make sure we know who's doing that action. Yeah. And that often, however, Andres, will not happen if the person who's doing the action is yo, because the yo verb is very distinctive, yeah, or nosotros, because that nosotros verb is very distinctive, yeah.
Mhm.
So we almost never have to include the pronoun for I, yeah, yo,
Mhm.
or nosotros, we, all of us. Right?
Mhm.
I am in a group. I have people with me. It becomes nosotros. And we almost never include the subject when it's tú, you, because those are really, really distinctive verbs and they only talk about one human being. It was super obvious. Okay?
Okay.
Bien? Vale?
Mhm.
Does this make sense? See?
Mhm.
Makes sense? Okay. Vale. Bueno, a ver. We're going to take a look at otros ejemplos, some other examples. Pueden ver la pantalla. Can you see the screen with the people? Here?
Sí.
¿Sí? Bien? Okay. Oh, perdón. Aha, aha, aha. Now we don't have una mujer, one woman, una chica, one girl.
Tres.
Yeah, sí. ¿Cuántas personas? How many people? We're going to
Three.
talk about, ¿cuántas personas? But now this están is a plural, right?
Mhm.
Because I've got not just one person on the screen. ¿Cuántas personas están en la foto? Somebody may respond with a fragment and they just may respond with a number.
But
Mhm.
And the number would be
Tres.
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 right.
Okay, so let's take the tres and elevate it a little bit and add a verb to it. 3 people are in the picture. ¿Cómo se dice 3 people are in the picture?
Tres
Tres
personas.
personas están en la foto.
3 personas están en la foto. Okay, en la foto. ¿Sí?
Couldn't you also say I? Hay tres
You
personas.
could also say ay, sí, qué magnífico. A different way somebody may express that is with this verb. This is one of those great, it's the existence verb. I can be used to talk about people. I can be used to talk about things. I means there is a onesie or there are. It means either one. Yeah. In English, we violate this all the time. Yeah. There's a lot of cars is technically not so great. There are a lot of cars because it's plural. But in Spanish, you've only got one verb for there is, and it means the same verb we use for there are, and that is hay. And it just says exists. It's out there. So instead of using estar to be in a place, you may hear hay. Hay tres, because these 3 people just exist. They're taking up space. That's all they're doing right now. Hay 3 personas, ¿sí? En la foto. So you're right that we can use both. Magnífico. ¿Dónde están? Now I want to know a where. And now I can't use I anymore because I'm not talking about just existing. I'm
No.
going to like nail down an actual physical spot.
Están en una tienda de ropa.
En una tienda de ropa. Están en una tienda de ropa. You could answer, están en Target. Están
Sí.
en Abercrombie. I no sé. I don't know. You can plug in anywhere kind of idea. Están en una tienda de ropa. Spanish does a weird thing. Instead of clothing store, it has to be a store of something, yeah? Tienda de, store of, tienda de ropa. ¿Qué hacen? We're going to pull out the hacen. We're going to unplug that verb because all it asks is what are they doing, right? And so we're going to have to plug in a different verb instead of hacer. ¿Qué hacen? What verb might we want to plug in? Let's plug in comprar because they clearly have an intention to buy stuff, yeah? Now,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about all three. They are together doing the same thing. So I got to make it a they.
The first thing I thought of was that they're taking a selfie, but I don't know how to say that in Spanish.
Oh, sí, we'll do that after this one. Okay, comprar. Compran ropa nueva.
Sure.
See? If they were at Goodwill, compran ropa vieja. They're buying old clothes, but they're buying some kind of clothes. Okay. Oh, they're taking a selfie.
Tomar.
Tomar un selfie.
Yeah.
Tomar un selfie. ¿Cómo se dice they're taking a selfie?
Toman, because it's plural.
Perfecto. Un
selfie.
selfie. Toman un selfie. Toman un selfie, sí. Toman un selfie para Instagram. Toman un selfie para Facebook, algo así, ¿sí? Toman un selfie para la cuenta de TikTok, no sé. Ok, magnífico. Bien, bien, bien. Ok, vale. They're looking at clothes. They're looking at clothes. They're just browsing. Just looking is mirar.
So miran ropa.
Miran, sí, miran ropa. Sí, miran ropa. Ok, vale, bueno. Que tiene la mujer en la camisa roja. I no longer have tienen. Here we had están. Where are they? Que hacen. What are they doing? See? Now I'm switching back to a singular. So now I have to define who that one person is. Is person number one, person number two, person number three. I have to talk about who it is. La mujer en la camisa roja. The woman in the
red shirt.
Red shirt. ¿Qué tiene la mujer en la camisa roja? I switched to singular.
Pantalones.
Yeah, tiene pantalones, nuevos pantalones.
Tiene pantalones.
Nuevos.
Pantalones, sí. Tiene pantalones en la mano como 4 pares, 3 pares, pares, sí. Tiene pantalones. You could be really specific instead of just she has pants. Como 4 pares, 4 pairs. That's just extra info. Just tiene pantalones would be enough, right? Tiene pantalones, okay. Tiene jeans. Ok, vale. Bueno, a ver, ¿qué tiene en la mano el chico? Hay un chico. There's only one guy, so I don't have to say what he's wearing. One of those three is a guy. So we know who it is by the word el chico. ¿Qué tiene en la mano el chico?
Hay un teléfono.
Tiene.
Celular.
Tiene un celular.
Celular.
Tiene un teléfono. ¿sí? Tiene un celular, tiene un teléfono, ¿ok? Y la otra mano, and the other hand,
Una bolsa.
y una bolsa. ¿Es una bolsa de papel o es una bolsa de plástico?
Plástico.
Es una bolsa de plástico.
Plástico.
Okay. Notice lots of times in Spanish where you say clothing store, it's tienda de ropa, store of clothing. Perdón. I'm missing my S. Instead of plastic bag, it's bag of plastic. Okay, we're telling what it's made out of. Bolsa de plástico. Okay. A ver, bien, bien. Una pregunta más, una pregunta. ¿Cuánto dinero? Es difícil ver. I think you gotta look at the guy on the bill if you can see it.
I can't tell.
So,
$50?
50. It's a 50. It's a 50 spot.
50.
So
Okay.
50.
50. Okay. 50, and I gotta name 50 what?
Dólares.
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 Sí, ¿cuánto dinero tiene? How much money does she have? And la mujer a la derecha means the woman on the right. Sí, a la derecha tells where she is. A la derecha, on the right. ¿Cuánto dinero tiene la mujer a la derecha? Tiene $50. Tiene $50. ¿Bien? Ok, ¿vale? ¿Bien? Good?
Bien.
Okay, here's what I want you to do to prep for next week. Okay. Yeah. You're going to have, you're going to start to do more talking. You're going to take a look at the last two. You're going to have the first two with some examples to kind of fall back on. Yeah. We're going to be talking, you're going to be thinking about ways to answer these questions. And by the way, in many cases, many times, I can't say 100%, many times there's more than one way to talk about something. Yeah, more than one way. So no one way of answering these questions is necessarily the right way. Yeah. Bien. I'm going to define something here. Bien, okay. A ver. Bien, bien. You're going to talk about this picture. I want you to prep for that. Remember, in this case, I'll underline this. This means that you need to take this verb out and plug something totally different in. Yeah. And then you're going to have this. These are both about group settings, but they're very different kinds of group settings. Yeah. You're going to come in next week prepared to talk about this and this. So we're going to talk about how many people are there? Is it a formal or informal get together? Reunión means a meeting or a get together. ¿Dónde están? Where are they? ¿Qué hacen? What are they doing? ¿Qué tiempo hace? That one I give you what's the weather like? And there you might have many different answers there, right? You can talk about wind, sun, hot, cold, all kinds of stuff there. But remember, weather phrases are not like the same sentences structure as they're eating, they're drinking, they're toasting to each other's health, right? Weather phrases generally use hace or maybe está, or sometimes ahí are weather verbs. Okay, so weather is a little different than talking about human beings. Okay, weather isn't it. It's an abstract thing. Okay, and here you're going to be talking about a very different setting, although it's a group setting. Again, you're going to be talking about cuántas personas hay aquí, how many people are there, what kind of get-together it is. Reunión is a get-together, a meeting, where they are, what they're doing, and again, hacen, we're going to have to unplug that, rip it out, and put in a totally different verb. And que equipo tienen, you may not know the word equipo. Equipo can mean team, but in this work, in this
Equipment.
context, it means equipment. Equipo usually is used as the word for a team, like a football team, a baseball team. But in this particular context, it means equipment, stuff. Yeah, see? So you're going to describe those. Bien. I'm also going to give you a file, but I don't want you to memorize it because it will bust your brain, and we're not trying to bust your brain. What it's going to be is a list for thinking down the line. ¿Dónde está? Where is it? Where is it? Uy, a ver.
A ver.
Oh, desapareció. It is a list of many, many, many verbs. I cannot find it for some strange reason. It is not on my list. It is oh, aquí está. Here it is. You're going to get this whole thing. It's a PDF. It will sound very overwhelming, so don't let it scare you. It's 100. Oh my God. Do you have to memorize these for next week? No, of course you don't. But what I want you to do is before you answer those questions about the pictures, you may want to like browse through and see how you say the word use, usar, how you say the word pay, pagar, how you say the pasar, how you say, ayudar, to help. Just these are going to be very, very common verbs. Leer you had in the Ana y Luis video, read. So you may want to browse through that list and, pick something off the list, perhaps. Bien? Vale? And you're going to build some very basic sentences so that you get used to this idea of structure and starting off naming the subject, but maybe later on you can drop the subject because you already know who you're talking about at the meeting. Yeah. See? Bien? Todo bien? All good? Okay.
Sí.
And you'll also get a short video to listen to, just to listen to people talk, to listen to a story. Yeah. When you listen to the video, it's for listening comprehension. That means getting the big idea. That does not mean I'm going to listen to this video and frantically try to translate every sentence I hear. Your big idea. And when you listen to the video that's a little short story, sometimes you're going to hit pause because you're going to say, what a weird sentence this is. I don't understand. We talked about subject and verb. What is this? What is this thing? This doesn't make sense according to what we've been thinking about this week. And you'll just note down like, oh, at the 2 and 22nd minute mark, I heard this thing. What the heck is that?
Okay.
And you'll make a little note of it and bring it to class. See? Bien?
Bien.
Vale. So some sentence building for you to do for next week and some listening, just to listen to a story and get the general idea. Okay. Probably you'll want to turn on the Spanish subtitles with the video, and I'll put that in the email. ¿Todo bien? All good?
Todo bien.
Sí.
¿Todo bien?
Sí.
Magnífico. Ok. Vale, vamos. Bueno, ustedes van a hablar más la semana que viene. You're going to talk more next week because you're going to have new and different things to talk about. And any other subjects you want me to do for the summer, send me a message what you want to work on, and we'll do that. ¿Todo bien? All good?
Great.
Fue un placer. It was a pleasure. Fue un placer. Muy bien. Now I get to work on a leaky car tire. Yay. Okay.
Good luck.
Bien. Espero que tengan muy, muy, muy buena semana. I hope you have a really good week.
Thank you.
¿Sí? Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
¿Dónde está el botón? Where's my button? Recording. Stop.